Hey guys, if I were to pick a unit to rush through like this, I'm glad it's Unit 10 because you've already been through Unit 10. You've been through Unit 10 and Unit 2 when we did ratios and proportions. You did part of Unit 10 in Unit 4 when we did indirect and independent and dependent variables. We did direct variation. So we've already done this. All we're doing is adding in decimals. There is one thing I do need to show you though, okay? And that is a shortcut. This shortcut is going to save us so much time. And yes, I know this study guide is torture. I know it's 30-something questions, but I want to get it into you. And it's going to take me a little bit longer than 30 minutes. Just bear with me today, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you a shortcut. And a lot of you, I so want to do this shortcut every single time we did proportions, but we weren't allowed to teach it to you. So now I get to show it to you. It's called cross products. Now, what I want to do is I want to real quick show you what cross products looks like. And I'm going to do it with something simple. 2/3 equals x over 9. All right. Now, as of now, you understand what x is. X is 6. Okay, because you know I'm going to multiply by 3, and I can get 6. Okay, I'm going to show you a shortcut. So what we're going to do is called cross products. Oh, got to get rid of that. There you go. Cross products. That means you are multiplying crossways. It's kind of like diagonal. Okay, diagonal products, as some people would rather say. All right, and this is how you do it. You take your two numbers that you have together, the 2 and the 9, all right? And we're going to multiply them and drop them. What's 2 times 9? 18. Now I'm going to take the other 2, the one that has the variable 3 and the x. 3 times x is 3x. And I'm going to bring down my equals. And divide both sides by 3. X equals 6. All right, Miss Cassidy, that takes so much longer. Yes, because that was a simple problem. But we're about to get into decimals and fractions. And oh, it is a pain in the rear. Telling you ahead of time, okay? So we're going to do the cross products. Bear with me. Just follow along, okay? All right, so right now you should have your study guide printed. If you don't, print it. If you don't have a printer, do it with me on a separate sheet of paper. You just sitting there and watching me is not going to do anything, right? Math is not a spectator sport, guys. You have to actually get dirty in it. All right, so let's look at number 1. The cost of a tent rental is $160 for 5 days. At this rate, how much does it cost to rent the tent for 1 day? Now, we learned this. If you want 1, you're dividing by what you want 1 of. I want 1 day, so I'm going to divide by days. So 160 divided by 5. Take your calculator, right? Many of you could actually do it in your head, so I'm going to just make sure I'm right. 160 divided by 5 gives me 32. So at this rate, how much does it cost to rent a tent for 1 day? It costs $32 for 1 day. Number 2, Sandra bought 3 pounds of nuts for $10.35. $10.35, 3 pounds of nuts. What's the unit price per pound? I want 1 pound, so I have to divide by pounds. So I have $10.35 divided by 3. Take a calculator, 1035 divided by 3 gives me 345. That means, what is the price per pound? Each pound costs $3.45. Now guys, listen, pause it. If I go too fast, rewind. No big deal. I'm trying to barrel it through for you, okay? All right, number 3. A recipe for rice pudding, yum, calls for 2.5 cups of milk. The recipe makes 5 servings. How many cups of milk are needed to make 8 servings? All right, so this is a proportion because I know the recipe calls for 2.5 cups of milk and it makes 5 servings. That's one recipe. All right, I want to know how many cups of milk are needed to make 8 servings. So I know 2.5. Now I'm just going to write that as 2.5. 2.5 cups of milk makes 5 servings. Now this is milk, sad milk. And this is servings, but I want 8 servings. Now, remember the shortcut. We're going to do cross products, okay? We're going to multiply the 2 diagonal together, the 2 numbers that I have that are diagonal, 8 and 2.5. So I want you to multiply them. We're going to find the product of 8 and 2.5. So 8 times 2.5 gives me 20. Now, I'm going to bring down my equals. 5 times x, because I don't know what x is, equals 5x. Now, we're going to divide both sides by 5. X is equal to 4. So how many cups of milk are needed for 8 servings? You will need 4 cups of milk. Now, if you wanted to do it the old way, the way we did it before, 2.5 over 5, and I want equals 8, I'm looking for x, you could have taken your calculator and said, how many times is 5 going to 8? Well, 8 divided by 5 gives me 1.6. So I could have multiplied 5 by 1.6. Let's make sure 1.6 times 5 gives me 8. So 2.5 times 1.6 gives me 4. I get the same exact answer. It's just quicker, and it's not as much to think about. All right, number 4. Miss Sanchez drove 96 miles in 1.5 hours. What was her speed in miles per hour? Okay, so what do you know? 96 miles in 1.5 hours. I want to know her miles per hour. I want 1 hour. It means I need to divide by hours. Now you could set up a proportion, it's the same thing. So 96 divided by 1.5, or you can set it over 1. You could do that, but we're just going to go backwards. We're just going to do shortcut. All right, so 96 divided by 1.5, calculator, 96 divided by 1.5 should give me 64. So how fast was she going? 64 miles per hour. Number 5, which of the following shows the least expensive unit price? Unit price means 1, okay? How much does it cost for one what? 1 orange. So letter A, 3 oranges for $1.02. So I'm going to say $1.02 divided by 3 oranges. So $1.02 divided by 3 gives me 34 cents. So 1 orange costs 34 cents per orange. All right, now let's do the 4 oranges. So I've got $1.52 divided by 4 gives me 38 cents. 38 cents. So this is 38 cents per orange. Now, so far, the best price is A as of right now. Let's look at C. $1.75 for 5 oranges gives me 35 cents. So far, A is still beating per orange. And 6, number 6, we have 246 divided by 6 gives me 41 cents per orange. So who has the better deal? Who has the better price? The 3 oranges for $1.02 because it's 34 cents per orange. All right, number 6. Use the function table for question 6. The table shows a relationship between the side lengths of a regular pentagon and its perimeter. Now, regular means all sides are the same. If it says regular pentagon, that means all sides are the same. Regular hexagon means all 6 sides are the same. So let's look at this. It says, question, which equation shows the relationship between the side length, the perimeter of a regular pentagon? Well, the question is, what am I doing to the side to get the perimeter? What am I doing each one to get the perimeter? Well, what am I doing? I am multiplying my side every time by 5. That's my constant. My constant is multiplying the side by 5 to get the perimeter. So how do I get the perimeter? I have to multiply 5 times the side. So 5 is your constant, right? S would have been your X variable. P would have been your Y variable. So perimeter equals 5S. Number 7. Which equation shows a relationship between the number of uniforms X and the cost Y? Well, let's look. 1 uniform costs $20. 2 uniforms cost $40. 3 uniforms cost $60. 4 uniforms cost $80. Personally, before I even look at the equation, I want to set up my X and Y table. All right, this is my X, This is my Y. My X values, my Y values. Who are my X values? The uniforms. Who are my Y values? The cost. So one uniform, well, I can do 0, but it's not in there. One uniform costs $20. 2 uniforms cost $40. 3 uniforms cost $60. 4 uniforms cost $80, etc. Now, if I'm going too fast, pause me. It won't hurt my feelings. All right? What are you doing to the X value to get the Y value? Well, every time you're multiplying by what? 20. So what are you doing to the X to get the Y? You're multiplying the X by 20 to get the Y. So Y equals 20X. Y equals 20X. Every time, 20 was your constant of proportionality. Number 8, what is the unit cost of a uniform? Well, how much does one uniform cost? It costs $20. Unit means one, cost of one uniform. How much will it cost the team to order 8 uniforms? Find 8 uniforms, take it up and go across. It will cost $160. Or I could have just put 8 inside of the X. And 8 times 20 gives me 160. Number 10. Which table represents a proportional relationship? Proportional relationship, remember, proportion or direct variation is always Y equals KX. That means you're multiplying by something. You always multiply. You never add, right? And if you're dividing, it's actually multiplying by a fraction. But, so every time we have to multiply by the same exact thing. So let's look at letter A. 3 to 6, that's times 2. Well, is that going to work for 5 to 9, 7 to 12, 9 to 15? No, that's not in the form Y equals KX. So therefore, this A is out. It is not being multiplied consistently by the same number. Look at letter B. 1 times 5 is 5. 2 times 5 is not 8. 6 times 5, that's times 4, that's times 3, that's times, I don't know, like 5.5 or something. I don't know what it is. That is not that's not a proportional relationship. Letter C, times 3. 2 times 3 is 6. Well, 6 times 3 is 18. 12 times 3 is 36. 18 times 3 is 54. Looks like C, but let's check D. Times 2. Well, that's plus 2. That's plus 4. That's plus 3. That's not going to work. So your answer is C. Number 11. What is value of X makes this proportion true? Oh, this one's an easy one. All you got to do is go from 14 to 46. Well, 14 times what is 46? 14 times 4. Whoop, 4. So 20 times 4 is 80. Or you could have shown the shortcut, which actually this is actually long cut compared to the other way. You could have done the cross products. 20 times 56. Let's do it. 56 times 20 gives me 1,120 equals X times 14, or 14X. Divide both sides by 14. All right, divide it by 14, X equals 80. You're going to get the same exact answer, no matter which way you do it. There's so many different ways. Ask your parents. They learned one way just like I did. We're kind of learning the same thing, just a little bit different. Number 12. What is the constant rate of change in the table below? Well, what is being constant? I'm going from 10 to 30, 20 to 60, 30 to 90, 40 to 120. What is your constant of proportionality? What is constantly the same? What are you doing every single time? You're multiplying by 3. You're multiplying by 3. So therefore, it's going to be 3 meters per minute. Okay, 3 meters per minute. Next one, number 13. What value of W makes this proportion true? Remember the shortcut? Oh, please use it. Otherwise, it's going to be a pain in your keister. And I'm not going to be there. So let's do it. Cross products. 1 and 2/10 times 6/10. Let's do it. 1 and 2/10 times 6/10 gives me 72 hundredths equals 1 and 6/10 times W is 1 and 6/10 W. Now we're going to divide both sides by 1 and 6/10. Let me roll this, scroll down. So W equals, let's see, 7200s divided by 1 6/10 gives me 4500s. So W equals 4500s, which is A. Number 14, which pair of ratios does not form a true proportion? It means they're not equivalent. It means they don't simplify to the same exact fraction. Now, look at 8 14ths, 8 to 14, and 20 to 35. Can I simplify those? Yes. What goes into 8 and 14? 2. It simplifies down to 4 to 7. And 20 to 35, I can simplify those both by 5, and I get 4 to 7. So are they proportional? Yes. Look at B. 6 to 10 simplifies 3 to 5. 15 to 25, I can pull out a 5 and I still get 3 to 5. So are those proportional? Yes. Look at C. 9 4ths doesn't simplify any more than that. So let's simplify 36/16. I can divide by 4 and I get 9, divide by 4 and I get 4. I get the same exact fraction. They're simplified the same, so those are proportional. Let's simplify 12 to 15 and 30 to 40. 12 to 15, I can simplify those by both by 3, and I'm going to get 4 to 5. 30 to 40, I can simplify those both by 10, and I get 3 to 4. Are those proportional? No. So your answer is D. Those do not form a true proportion. They are not equivalent. Number 15. What is the solution of the proportion? All right, let's use that shortcut. Make your life a whole mess a lot easier. All right, so here we go. 1 4/10 times 2 1/10. 1 4/10 times 2 1/10 gives me 2 9400ths equals 1 1/2 C. Because C times 1 1/2 is 1 1/2 C. Divide both sides by 1 1/2. So C equals 2 9400ths divided by 1 1/2 gives me 1 9600ths, which would be A. Number 16, which graph represents a proportional relationship? Now remember, y equals k times x. And here's the thing about y equals k times x and the proportion, it always has to be a straight line. So immediately, who can we eliminate? D, and we can eliminate B. Now think, it's got to be a straight line. What was the other thing we said? It had to go through a specific place. It had to go through the point of origin, 0, 0. So we can immediately eliminate C. So who is your proportional relationship graph? It is A. It is always a straight line, and it goes to the point of origin. If it doesn't go through the point of origin, it's not a proportional relationship. It's something else. We'll talk about that later. 17. Mrs. Wade drove 105 miles in 2.5 hours. What was Mrs. Wade's speed in miles per hour? Per 1 hour. That means I have to divide by hours. So 105 divided by 2.5, I'm just write as a decimal, 2.5, or 2 5/10. So 105 divided by 2.5 gives me 42. So she goes 42 miles per hour. Number 18. A restaurant charges a single price for its buffet. The total bill for a table of 6 people having the buffet was $294. Each of the 8 people at the second table also had the buffet. What was the bill at the second table? Now, what do you know? I know 6 people cost $294. 6 people cost $294. I want to know each of the 8 people at the second table had the buffet also. What was their total bill? And I know 8 people, but I don't know how much they cost. So I'm going to call that X. All right, we know 6 costs $294. I don't know 8. So we got our proportion. So let's do our cross products. 294 times 8 gives me 2,352. And then X times 6 divide both sides by 6, gives me X equals $392. So their bill, the bill for 8 people, will cost $392. Look at 19. Patty knows that a 45-ounce pitcher can hold enough lemonade for 6 people. At this rate, how many ounces of lemonade will Patty need to serve 26 people? All right, she's got a bigger party here. All right, Miss Cassie would be probably losing her mind if I had that many people to serve. So I know 45-ounce pitcher, 45 ounces, can hold enough lemonade for 6 people. I need to know what it is for 26 people. All right, so I need to know X, how many ounces. All right, cross products, use that, makes your life so much easier. 26 times 45 gives me 1,170 equals 6 times X. Divide both by 6. X equals $195. Well, Miss Cassie, you put the X on the wrong side. It doesn't matter. I don't care which side it's on, as long as there's not an inequality there. So answer, you will need 195 ounces. Okay? All right, number 20. Whew, almost done. On a standardized test, Paul answered the first 22 questions in 5 minutes. There are 77 questions on the test. If he continues to answer questions the same rate, how long will it take him to complete the test from start to finish? All right, so we know he has already answered 22 questions. And it took him 5 minutes. But I know there are 77 questions on the test. I want to know how long it takes him to finish. Now, you can do it a couple ways, but we're going to stick with the cross products. You ready? 5 times 77 gives me 385. X times 22 gives me 22x. Divide both sides by 22. X equals 17.5. So how many minutes will it take him to complete the test? 17.5 minutes. Now, we don't know. There could be harder questions at the end, so it might take him longer. But that says if he finishes at that same rate. 21. The table below shows a proportional relationship. What is the constant or unit rate? Now, it says hint, what is the value of M? You don't know M yet. That's the slope, but we'll talk about that later. We want to know, what are you doing to X to get Y? X to get Y. Now, it's going down. It means we're not we have to multiply. What do we multiply by? Well, hold on a minute. What are we doing to 6 to get 2? We're dividing by 3 every single time. But we already said it can't be division. Y equals K times X. So which of these down here is the same thing as dividing by 3? I can take a third. When I take a third of something, I'm dividing it by 3. So it would be Y equals 1/3 X. 1/3 is the same thing as dividing by 3. So your answer is D. So whenever it gets smaller, it's going to be multiplied by a fraction. Number 22. The graph below shows the commission Jack earned on his sales. Explain the relationship represented by one of the points X, Y on the graph. Now, so the first thing it wants us to do is explain the relationship. The second is it wants an equation. So now I want you to look at it. It's kind of weird. It's going to look weird at first. But it says Jack had $10 in sales and he earned $1 in commission. $1 in commission. If Jack makes $20 in sales, he earns $2 in commission. If Jack makes $30 in sales, he'll earn $3 commission. So every time, this is my X, this is my Y. So what are you going to do? So basically, for every $10 in sales, Jack earns $1 in commission. Basically, that's 10%. So for every $10 in sales, Jack earns $1 in commission. Okay? All right. Now, so look at the next one. What is the equation? Well, for me, I need to have my X and Y axis, my X and Y chart. I have to have my T-chart. It makes my life so much easier. So who is your X? Your first X is 10. And when it's 10, your Y is 1. All right? Number 2, if your X is 20, your Y is 2. X is 30, Y is 3. X is 40, Y is 4. What are you doing every time for the Y, X, to get the Y? It's going down. What am I doing to 10 to get 1? 20 to get 2, 30 to get 3. I'm dividing by 10. But we know we can't divide by 10. We have to multiply. So what do I have to multiply by? So it's like dividing. We're going to multiply by a fraction, 1/10. All right, because if I'm dividing by 10, it's the same thing as taking 1/10 of something. So your answer is C. 23. You and your friend went out to lunch and your total bill before taxes was $48.50. You enjoyed your service and wanted to leave a gratuity, a tip of 20%. What is your gratuity amount? Now, it doesn't ask for your total bill. It says your gratuity. It just wants to know your tip. How much tip did you leave? Well, you have to take 20% of $48.50. Change it to a decimal, 0.2 times 48.50. So 2/10 times 48.50 gives me 9.7. That means I left a $9.70 tip. Number 25. John went into Home Depot to purchase items to fix his bicycle. His total bill before taxes was $24.20. If the tax rate is 7%, what is his total cost of his purchases? Now, remember we learned 2 ways. Number 1, I'm going to find the tax, then add it to the original amount, or I can multiply by 1.07 because that's your total amount plus your 7% tax. It's going to give you the same exact thing. So I can say 1.07 times 2420. We learned this a couple of weeks, not a couple of weeks ago, a couple of days ago. So 1.07 times 2420 gives me 25.894. Well, how much money is that going to be? $25.89. The 4 tells us 89 to stay is 89. Now, you could have just said 24, taken 7%, 0.07 times 2420 times 0.07 and gotten $1.69. Actually, it has 4 at the end, but we're not going to worry about the 4. And then said 2420 plus $1.69 gives me $25.89. You're going to get the same way, same answer anyway. 26. A car salesman sells a car for $52,100. If his commission is 13.8%, how much did he make on his sale? Excuse me, good gracious. All right, number 26, here we go. So a car salesman sells a car for $52,100. His commission is 13.8%. So I have to take 13.8% of $52,100. Got to move my decimal twice, so it'll be 0.138 times 52,100 times 0.138 gives me 7189.8, which means he will make, or this car salesman, he or she, I'm assuming is a he because it says his, will make $7,189.80. That's how much he will make off of that car for $52,000. It's a nice sale. All right. Number 27. You went to purchase a new mountain bike. Oh, I love biking right now. At the store this week, at the store for $235.99. This week, it was on sale for $30 off the original price. What was the markdown or discount expressed as a percent? All right, this you have no clue how to do. So I'm going to teach it to you. I'm going to show it to you. You don't have to remember it because they're going to go over it again with you next year, because I'm telling the teacher that you will have exactly what you've done, what you haven't done, what she needs to spend more time on. All right, here's how you need to do it. You take the original amount, subtract your new amount, and divide it by your original amount. Now, listen, you guys, we do this all the time. My husband and I were sitting in our car looking at something going, okay, what was the discount or how we had to do this? You're going to do this in real life. Not all the time. That's why you always have to look it up, but you will do this. All right, so the original amount, what was the original amount? The original amount was $235.99. The new amount with the $30 off, I got to take 30 from 235, and that's going to give me $205.99. And I'm going to subtract those two. Then I'm going to divide by the original amount. We're going to divide it by the original amount, which is $235.99. So let's do it. Take $235.99, subtract $205.99 equals $30 divided by the original $235.99. That's going to give me 0.127124031. All right, you don't need all those numbers. Basically, they want it as a percent. Take this, move it once, twice. It will give you 12.7%, or some people could round it up to 13%. So it's approximately 12.7% or 13%, okay? There's your answer. Either one will work depending on what they are asking. 28. Excuse me. Oh, this is a simple one. A professional team, baseball team, won 80% of its 55 games. How many games did they win? They won 80% of the 55 games. 80%. Woo, I can't write 80, but let's try it again. 80% of 55. 0.8 times 55. Right? So we got 0.8 times 55 gives me 44. So how many games did they win? They won 44 games. They won 44 games. Number 29. All right, this one, interest equals principal times rate times time. Not a fan of simple interest. Next year, you're going to learn compound interest. All right, so I equals P times R times T. Principal times rate times time. Principal, P, all right. Principal is your $300. Your rate is your percent, which is 5%, times 5%, which is 0.05, times how long? 2 years. All right, so let's do it. $300 times 0.05 times 2 years gives you $30. You will make $30 in interest over 2 years. Okay, next one, $650. So interest equals principal times rate times time. 650 is your principal, times your rate is 0.08%, times 3 years. Pick up your calculator. 650 times 0.08 times 3 gives me $156. So they will earn $156 in 3 years. And that's just simple interest. Okay, very basic. All right, 31, 32, and we only have 3 more questions to go, and we're about done. The scale of a map is 1 1/4 inches is 100 miles. Now I'm going to rewrite that as 1.25. 1.25 inches is 100 miles. On a map, two cities are 4 1/8 inches apart. Now 4 1/8, 1 divided by 8 gives me 0.125. So this is 4.125. Now you could leave them as fractions. That's fine. You don't care. It's your choice. But I'm going to use them as decimal. It's just easier sometimes to do. As long as it doesn't do a repeating decimal. Ooh, that's a pain in the tush. What is the actual distance in miles? I don't know how many miles. All right, cross products. 100 times 4.125 gives me, well, 4 times 100 gives me 412.5. Then x times 2.25, x. All right, so we've got 412.5 divided by 1.25 gives me x equals 330. So you would go 330 miles. Now on the next one, I'm going to erase all this stuff at the bottom, okay? Actually, you know what? Let me do this. Let me get all that and push it over here because I need to have some room. It says the length between the bases on a Major League Baseball diamond is 90 feet. Allison wants to make a scale drawing of a baseball field. If the bases are 2.5 inches apart and on her scale drawing, what is Allison's scale? All right, so let's look at this guy real quick. We know the bases are 2.5 inches apart. We know that the baseball diamond is 90 feet. So I need to find out what is the other ratio that makes it proportional, that makes it equal. So we know, well, let's say I've got 1 inch equals 2.5 feet. And I want to know if this, letter A, if 2.5 inches is the same thing with 90 feet. This is inches and that's 90 feet. Well, let's do cross products. If it's proportional, both sides will be equal. All right, so let's look. If I take my cross products, 1 times 90 is 90. Is 2.5 times 2.5 going to be 90? No. 2.5 times 2.5, that gives me 6.25. That is not proportional. So A is out. Let's look at B. 1 inch to 3 feet. 1 inch to 3 feet. And I want to know 2.5 inches to 90 feet. Let's do cross products. Let's see if it works. 90 times 1 is 90. Is 2.5 times 3 90? No. 2.5 times 3 gives me 7.5. That's not right either. B is out. All right, let's look at C. Let me erase some of this over here. I'm going to need that room. All right, C. 1 inch is 30 feet. All right, and I know 2.5 is 90. Let's do cross products. 1 times 90 is 90. 30 times 2.5 is looking better, but I don't think it's right. Nope, that's only 75 feet. It is not proportional. All right, lastly, there you go. 1 out of 36 feet, and I've got 2.5 over 90. And let's see if it works. 90 times 1 is 90. 36 times 2.5 gives me 90. Those two are proportional. So what is a scale drawing? A scale drawing is 1 inch to 36 feet. Last problem. Whew, fastest I've ever done 33 questions in my entire life, and I'm sure same with you. The tree shown below was drawn using a scale of 4 inches to 15 feet. There should be a colon here, but it's not. Okay. 4 inches to 15 feet. What is the actual height of the tree? Well, we want to know the actual height, but I know a smaller tree is 20 inches. Where is the 20 going to go? 20 is going to go on top because that's the smaller, that's the smaller the scale. And I need to know what the actual is, the actual tree. Well, this is an easy one. 4 times 5 is 20. So 15 times 5 is 75. So X equals 75 feet. Now, that was quick. And I know you're not going to have it all, but you've seen it. You've been introduced to it. And I know it was torturous today, and I'm very sorry. but because they didn't want us to teach next week, we had to shorten it down, and we just decided to do this. Anyway, so tomorrow on Friday, we are having an escape room. So I would love to see you and your families, older brothers, older sisters, friends, families. You can text each other. It doesn't matter. But I want to see a huge crowd of people on there working with you through the escape room. All right. We will see you later, guys. I hope you have a wonderful evening. And if this is the last time I see you, I will miss you very much. Have a great end of summer.